Jamie, I'm going to go back to you on this. You and I were talking in the green room. And again, folks, I want this to be clear. This is not anyone on this panel attacking Jez Cordon of Windows Central. He is, and I say this before, I'm not blowing smoke up the guy's ass. I don't have to do that, but I want this to be clear. I consider Jez tip of spear when it comes to game journalism. I truly do. I've met him multiple times. He is a proper gentleman. We've always had nice conversations. But his original post on March 22nd said, if the next Xbox supports Steam/Epic Game Store, he's asking a question: will PlayStation block their PC titles on Microsoft hardware? It was from a poll. So I'm going to bring up the poll, and 61.2% said yes. 38.8%, Jamie, said no. It had nearly, and I mean nearly, 15,000 votes. Well, that's a lot of people that got involved in this. So he followed that up, quote tweeting his poll by saying, for those saying PlayStation can't block their games on Steam from Xbox, PC, they absolutely 100% can. Now, I did respond to Jez, and of course, I'm always politically correct because I never finger point or attack anybody for their opinion, because everyone's entitled to have theirs, even if we don't agree. We can still walk away like gentlemen. I simply says to Jez, as much as you are always on the pulse of anything gaming, this is totally different when Jez Cordon. Steam sells developers and publishers games, but there are rules that must be followed. How could PlayStation pick and choose who used the games that they purchased and then use their hardware as a parameter of blocking said customer from using a purchased title because it has Xbox integration? ? Steam would then, and this is my opinion, choose not to sell PlayStation games. Look what happened with Helldivers 2 with the PSN sign-in. Now, that's what originally he was comparing it to, and that's not a good comparison, and here's why. There were over, I don't know, I think it was was it 108 countries or something like that did not have PSN available in their region, which meant that Sony was selling people the game on Steam. People were buying it, trying to play it, and they were stopped because they needed to do a PSN sign-in. Guess what, folks? They couldn't, because PSN is not available in their region. So what had to happen? Steam had to, once again, refund these people's money, and they stopped selling the game until what happened? Sony bent the knee and removed the PSN sign-in. Now, that's obviously, they're not stupid. They want to make money. And this is the same thing I think about when it comes to what could potentially happen with Xbox. Now, again, there were several people in the community that responded to Jez, and I will read some of them for context and conversation. John Clark of Xbox Era says, Jez mate, I love you, but these aren't remotely the same thing, let alone the same ballpark. Now, there were some additional conversations that happened between Paris Lilly, who actually when it got into the conversation. And of course, Paris was, a gentleman. He simply says GFN, or GeForce Now, was about licensing. And something, I'm sorry, I forgot to make mention that the second part of Jez's original tweet was, he said, and I have to say this for context so it makes sense. Jez Cordon actually said at the back end of that tweet, look what happened to GeForce Now. Now, GeForce Now was allowing people to play their games without consulting the publishers, i.e. Sony Corporation, and Sony stopped them from doing it. And that's what he was originally comparing, why he believes Xbox users could be stopped from playing PlayStation games purchased through Steam. So let me just go right back to what I was talking about with Paris Lilly. And Paris goes on to say this, folks. GFN, again, GeForce Now, was about licensing, and they aren't the only publisher blocking games from that service. In my opinion, it's doubtful PlayStation blocks their games via Steam. And to be honest, even if they can, is it worth the effort? And I agree with him. It is absolutely not worth the effort if you like money. But Paris goes on to say, I think a lot depends on how Xbox would integrate Steam into their UI versus allowing a desktop mode that launches a third party digital store. We are 2.5 years away from knowing either way, because, of course, the next Xbox, Jamie, is coming in 2027. So for now, not even worth being concerned or debating on the speculation. And Destin Legary basically responds with a simple this. And is, of course, responding to Paris. Now, why I think this is an important conversation to have, because I don't think it does start in 2.5 years from now. I think that is the ultimate goal for what Xbox is going to do, why people are going to buy this console. If you remember, during many of the interviews, and I think Paris actually asked Phil Spencer this directly, why would I want to buy an Xbox for next generation? And Phil told him that this next console is going to differentiate itself from any previous Xbox before it. And that is where we get I would even dare say, confirmation that this next Xbox is going to be this mythical PC underneath your TV. I want to get your thoughts on the idea that could start as soon as this year. There is some OEM hardware coming the way. We got it confirmed of Asus. That is happening. There is a partnership with Xbox. It is expected to look like an Xbox and run like an Xbox. And if someone like me, and you know what, let me not even use myself, because I have a PS5. So if I have to buy Ghost of Yotei on PS5, that's fine, which is probably where I'm going to buy it anyway, because I'd rather play on my TV than a handheld. But if there is an Xbox gamer in this chat right now who has a Switch, who may even have a PC, but doesn't have a PS5, and was like, you know what? That Ghost of Yotei, I missed out on Ghost of Tsushima. I bought it on PC. It's amazing. I cannot wait to play this game. Well, if they buy this handheld that is basically a PC, but also acts like an Xbox, by all accounts, they should be able to, if and again, there's a lot of ifs here. If Ghost of Yotei happens to be the first day and date title that Sony says, you know what, we want to make money. We don't want to wait 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. We're releasing a day and date, and you go to buy that game from Steam in your Steam library, and then you go to download that game and play that game. How the F is Sony going to tell you, oh, I see that you're playing on a partnered Xbox device blocked? They would get in some big trouble, in my opinion. Let's get your thoughts on that.
I mean, it's a weird situation, because I don't understand how Sony could block it, because if next year's handheld or whatever, or this year's handheld, if that's an OEM device and it can launch Steam and other stores, like, it would just be classed as a PC. So I honestly don't understand how, like, PlayStation could block games from being played or sold on that device. I really can't see that from happening. Will Sony try? Probably. Like, like whether people like Sony or not, like, we could all admit, like, Sony, they can be a bit petty sometimes, you know. And I can totally see them trying to block this. Will they? I honestly don't know. I really don't. But I think the interesting thing with, Microsoft going forward, like, having PC games being able to be played on your Xbox, like, Microsoft, they clearly want this to be the hub of the living room, right? They want you to be able to play all your games on one console, because for the longest time I've been talking about how, like, financially it doesn't make any sense whatsoever for Microsoft to allow other stores on the console. It really doesn't, right? The Xbox ecosystem is supported by third-party sales, the 30% they make off games, DLC, microtransactions. So, like, for them to put other stores on the console, it doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, if they don't have the store on the console and just let you play your own games, then that could be an avenue going forward that actually does make sense. So, like, let's take me, for instance, right? I would love to have more RTS games on console. Unfortunately, we don't live in a universe where that's a thing. But if Steam games had the ability to play them on your console and like sign into your Steam account and then just play them there, that would be the most ideal situation. Because honestly, fast forward 10 years from now, I honestly can't see a reality where the store itself is available on console. I just can't. Now, the ability to sign in and play your games, totally. I mean, hell, I have like 200 Epic games, Epic Store games. Like, if they can get that on there, that would be very nice. By the way, if people don't claim those free games, I don't know why you don't. Free games all the time.
I do it all the time, brother. I haven't played one of them yet.
Yeah, like I literally have about 200 games, and I fired up one game. That's it, just one. But yeah, you know, they've got me. I have an account there. I never intended spending a penny, you know, on the Epic Game Store, but I'll take the free games. But I would love to be able to sign in and play those games there. Like, and I could see that totally happening. Now, will we see it this year? I think you're right, Boom. I do think we will see like more of the PC centric Steam integration stuff this year. Because like the weird thing is like about Microsoft is like they are weirdly upfront at the minute about a lot of things. You know, they're saying how, oh, we're going to have the PlayStation logo at the end of trailers if it's going to be on PlayStation. We telling people upfront that we have a multi-platform strategy while having consoles coming out in the future. And, you know, you will have people in chat and, you know, online or whatever talk about how like Microsoft's getting out the console business. It costs literally billions of dollars of research and development to get these consoles researched, developed, made, sent out to stores, sent out to people's houses. Like, so like them getting out the console space doesn't make any sense because as we were saying before that the show went live, like people, and I see a lot of journalists do this, it really annoys me. People only talk about Xbox making money off Game Pass. And the truth is, Xbox makes more money off game sales, DLC, microtransactions. So, like, Microsoft leaving the console space literally doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, like, they're going to continue to make consoles. And, like, the original Xbox, that sold, what, 25 million consoles sold, something like that. The Xbox 360 had the worst launch of any Xbox console, yet it had the best, you know, sales record, like 90 million consoles sold. And then you have the Xbox One, which had a disaster launch with the DRM and all that stuff before the console even came out. And that sold what, 60, 70 million consoles in a generation where they had, you know, a mid-generation refresh with the Xbox One X. Like, so like Xbox at the minute is like what, 30 million consoles. It might tap out around 40 at the end of this generation. We really don't know. I think Xbox, like, they see the writing on the wall. I think, like, they may never sell more than 30, 40, 50 million consoles. And I think people looking at that saying, like, that is the end of Xbox, they don't really realize how much money that is, right? So, like, I'll use Square Enix as an example, right? There's, what, 120 million PlayStation 4s out in the wild. And
give or take,
yeah, give or take. And how many people actually bought Final Fantasy VII Remake at launch?
Like 2.5 million. It was very low.
So like Square Enix, they shifted into a multi-platform strategy because it makes no sense, right? One, if people wouldn't buy the games on Xbox, Sony wouldn't have to pay for exclusivity. That's literally just a fact. And Square Enix, they know they're going to make more money off Xbox and you know, Switch 2 and PC, all combined. So like Microsoft, I think they see that, look, they're going to continue to sell consoles. They're going to try the whole handheld thing because handheld PCs are popping off, right? I always hear about the ROG Ally all the time, right? My friend that has one can't believe stop talking about the thing. And, you know, handhelds, they're popping off. The Switch 2 is coming out. The Switch 2, that's probably going to launch with, you know, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Like, I think people need to get past the whole, you know, oh, hey, you buy this console, this has exclusive games. Like, the industry's changing. Games cost way too much now. Like, hell, the new Witcher game, The Witcher 4, is reportedly going to cost $400 million, meaning that game needs to be an instant success, massive hit out of the gate. Otherwise, they'll have to shut up shop. I think that, Xbox trying these things with the handheld PC, the OEM device, it's not Xbox getting out of the console business. It's them trying something different. Because look, the Xbox One generation was the console generation to lose, because people have this built-in library of digital games that they aren't going to give up, and people are still in that mindset of like, look, Xbox messed up in 2013, and they are still having to pay for it. Now, as an Xbox fan, as someone that covers Xbox, I think the whole situation's exciting. Right? We always have stuff to talk about. They have a roadmap of games. Like, people are constantly talking about Xbox all the time, right? So the fact that they're going to come out this year with an OEM PC device, that's exciting. And them trying something with Steam and maybe Epic Store or GOG, I mean, that's really good. It benefits consumers in the end, because if they can get Steam like owned games to work on the platform, that is literally the most pro consumer thing they can do. The only thing we can talk about is like, will Sony stop them? And Sony has been known in the past to be extremely anti-consumer.
Yeah.
So will they stop them? I don't know, but I really do think they'll try.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see, because, like I said, Paris is right, where what we're talking about, the end game for Microsoft as a corporation when it comes to Xbox as a part of Microsoft, that does happen in 2.5 years, right? Holiday of 27, I would imagine, is when the next Xbox is going to come out. Again, all signs point to this mythical box that we've all wanted but never really knew how to get to is going to be delivered. It is going to look like a console. It is going to plug into the wall and to the back of your TV like your traditional console right now, but it's going to be a PC. That is the end game for them. And in that same end game is going to be their own handheld. And until they get there, they're going to be working with third-party manufacturers like Asus, like ROG. Potentially, you might even get one in there from pick your favorite brand that has a handheld out now. You might get an OEM Xbox there, because this is what they're planting the seeds for the future of what they're going to deliver in 27. Umbra, I have 2 points of contention here that I want to bring in for context that really do drive the point home of why I don't think they are going to block it. Now, you've heard me mention him before, Detective Seeds. Now, Detective Seeds is a reputable source. He is a PlayStation guy. He is, I think, look, I know I'm going to get some boos or virtual tomatoes for this. Just because he's a PlayStation guy doesn't mean that he's not valuable to the community. I like his work. We don't agree. We've said it publicly. We don't agree with each other on quite a few things, but we are still friends, and we can still walk away like gentlemen. He put out a tweet regarding, and again, folks, whether you believe him or you don't, that's fine. I consider him to be a credible source. That's just me, right? He put out a tweet on the 24th of March regarding this, and he says this, folks. I have been told that PlayStation has no current plans to restrict access to their current PC games if Xbox produces a partner device with Steam access. With their current Project Amherst, they do not seem to care. That is directly from Detective Seeds, which, by the way, has connections within Sony Interactive Entertainment. Now, whether you take him at face value or you don't, that is perfectly fine. But I do want to bring in Colt Eastwood and Tom Warren, who also chimed in on this. And Colt goes on to say, Tom Warren explains how PlayStation cannot block, and he says cannot in all caps, block their games from the next Xbox with direct PC, handheld or console access. Steam does not allow hardware blocking. And of course, Tom Warren, who went back and forth, in a fair conversational point of view with Jez Cordon on the socials, Tom Warren goes on to say, there is no Xbox API to PlayStation games on Steam, so there's nothing to block. If Microsoft goes ahead and lists Steam games in the Xbox app on Windows, that will require Steam to be installed on a Windows machine. Sony would need to block Steam on Windows, which we know is not happening. Listen, Umbra, you are a PC guy. You have a monster-sized rig. You are playing most of your games on PC. I want to get your thoughts and your theories as to this big discussion on whether or not Sony, who we know can in fact be petty, would say no to money, literally say no to Xbox gamers that wanted to buy something like Days Gone on Steam or Spider-Man 2018 and play on what could be an OEM Xbox device. That to me does not make dollars and cents. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Sony is like, get your filthy Xbox dollars away from me, sir. We shan't be crossing paths. No. All to Steam, none to you. We shan't. Sony is petty enough where, to Jamie's point and to the chat and we all know Sony is petty enough where they'll be like, nope, I'm not allowing that. And it possibly could be a business move where it hurts them if that happens, right? Because at that point, the argument always was centered around, well, why do you need an Xbox? You can play this on PlayStation. Why do I need an Xbox? I got a PC. Well, the same argument would be valid for Sony.
I'll tell you this right now. And you know what? I want to add some context to that point. If they release their games day and date, now, and again, let me paint the picture for you folks, and I'm going to hand the mic right back to you. But this is great context. So it is expected that at least by 1 year, Xbox is going to jump Sony. And it could be more than that. Again, that's the rumor. Is it true? Well, we'll find out in 2027. But right now, we're in 2025. And I will say this. I'll tell you this, and I will say it right out in the open. If the next Xbox comes out and it's as powerful as Sarabon claims it is, and in its power, there is the ability to go through a Lenovo, a ROG, or even a Dell or an Alienware, get an Xbox, get an OEM Xbox, and say, hey, the standard Xbox is 700 beans, but I don't want that one because I want more power. So I go out and said, you know what? I'm going to go over to Alienware and I'm going to build my own Xbox where they're going to build it for me. And I'm going to pick parts. And 5090? Yes, I want that. I want a 2 terabyte drive. Yeah, I want that. And I wind up spending $1,380 on this Xbox. I don't need a PlayStation 6 because that box is going to be basically a rig that's underneath my TV. And listen, PlayStation 6, folks, make no mistake, it is going to be powerful. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The PlayStation 6 is going to be a formidable piece of hardware, but it's going to be a souped-up PS5. They will not be doing what Xbox is doing. It is going to be exactly what you have with your PlayStation 5 and your Pro, except it's going to be more powerful. Sony is going to Sony. They're going to be traditional. And if this in fact is the case, what the heck do I need a PlayStation 6 for, Umbra, if I have this $1,500 box that I just paid for? Please continue, sir.
There you go. And that's the thing. So I can see why, just to give a little, credence to Sony doing it. Outside of the idea of pettiness, I can see why they would do it, because it would possibly, give people the thought that, yeah, why do I need that? I have this over here. I have this Fusion Xbox over here, and I do Ninja Squirrel. Yes. Paul Paws, of course, I have the monster rig. But yeah, so I hear that thought, but what I find odd is the thought that they'll just block Xboxes or whatever, or Fusion Xboxes and PC. I don't understand how that would work. You know what I mean? I don't see how that would logically make sense to do. Not only are they undercutting themselves, because that's money that they'll get, steal from the sales of that. Plus, I don't even think they can do that. I don't think it's a real thing. It's not. I don't think the next Xbox is essentially, I think we've lightly touched on it here. I've talked about it on Infinite. I've talked about it on my podcast, just from things I've heard. It's, they're doing this whole, it's a hybrid situation where it's essentially a PC. And I mean, they're already on x86. So I'm sure some of you all saw the news with the Windows 32 implementation. So that's going across the board where they're going to allow you to play all these things. They're already setting it up. That's what all that is going to. This is why the whole "this is an Xbox" campaign was out and done and being put out there. It doesn't ring true just yet, but it will, because that's the central plan, that everything will be in Xbox. You'll be able to access your whole library, right? And the fusion, I like that, James Coffee. Yeah, I didn't think about that. He said, I just named the next Xbox, the fusion.
Nice. I love it.
It actually would be.
You just gave away $1 million idea. Please give this man credit. Thank you.
Yes. Just fly me out to LA, Phil and team, and praise me. No, but seriously, like, so my thinking is, I'm much more aligned with Tom Warren and Jesse and John and them from Xbox era. I just don't see how they would have the power to do that. I don't think Steam would allow that, for one. Two, you essentially saying, hey, I'm going to block Steam off of your Windows PC, right? Because that's what it's going to be. And what they're doing is a hypervisor. So it's not like it's going to be just some Xbox thing. It's going to be a PC that is essentially emulating the Xbox, right? So I don't see how they would do that without causing trouble for Steam itself. And I don't think Steam is about to lose out on money too. That's revenue for Steam. So I'm going to lose out on revenue for your few measly games when I got all these thousands upon thousands of games that I could be profiting off of from the Xbox people. I don't think so. Valve wouldn't allow that. I don't see Gabe doing that. So to me, I would fall on the side of Paris and all those guys. We're on this right here as well. I just don't see that as a realistic thing. But I will say I'll put a tab of it in being cautious, because you never know. And I say that just because Sony is
they're petty. They really are. Yeah.
They're petty, and they could try to be litigious, and who knows? So I can't say for sure, for any certainty, that no, they're not going to do this. I don't know. I just don't believe that'll be the case. And again, it's a win for them too, because that's money that's going in their pocket as well, even if that's the case. And not everybody is going to say, well, I'm just going to get the Fusion Xbox over here versus the next PlayStation. Not everybody's going to do that, because it's still a matter of market share and mind share, that people still look at PlayStation as de facto, right? So that's going to take some time to die down too. So not everybody's going to just abandon ship to go to the wiser choice. Look at PC right now. Not everybody's jumping to PC, even though it's a far wiser choice. You see what I mean? Yeah. Right. Like if you look at it just off of the convenience of being able to do whatever you need to do on it and getting everything, PC would be the choice. But not everybody wants a PC for their own needs, right? And some things people don't want to go through all this with a PC. I get it, So I feel the same when it comes to PlayStation, and then people switching back over, library included, and friends they've made included. All of that's still going to matter. So this is more reason why I don't believe Sony would try it, because there's no real incentive for the people who are longtime PlayStation buyers or consumers to just say, I'm just going to ditch them now. You know what I mean? Right. Phil made that comment for a reason when he pointed out that the time to grab people would have been during the 7th gen. So I think that holds true. So for that reason, I don't believe Sony would even go through that. And I do believe Detective sees he does have some connections there with Sony. You're right. Haven't talked with him myself a few times. So I believe that is a real thing. I think Sony, and also, I mean, you've seen it, Totoki and all, they've been talking about this, where they want to get more revenue for the games. And we talked about it many times. It's pretty obvious. Sony is looking barren over there. I mean, you don't have a lot of games come out of them first party. They may as well get all the money they can. So if you got it where these games are going to be going to another platform, and it's not like you're saying, hey, we're sending, The Last of Us remake version 3 over to Xbox. Right. No, we're seeing it to Steam, and you just got to run around, or at least an in run around to get to it from that through the next Fusion Xbox there. Why would they care? They're still getting their money from you.
They're still getting, again, someone's still spending $60 or $70 on the game. And I don't even think that's the question of it. There comes a point, and you had asked the question, why would I buy a PlayStation? Well, as great as they're selling PlayStations, they're not making a lot of money on a PlayStation 5 or Pro sales, folks. That's the reality. They're making minuscule amounts of money. Where they make their money is in software. It has always been software. So again, I don't see, first of all, if you just look at the way Gabe Newell runs it. It's a privately owned corporation. They make the rules. They don't work for Sony. Sony works for Steam. Xbox works for Steam when they put their games there. They're partners. They're both making money. One's taking 70, which would be PlayStation, and Gabe Newell is taking 30. And that's the way the business works. Now, if they try to turn around and say, well, anything with an Xbox API, we're going to block this game, that is going to cause a lot of trouble at Steam because people are then going to want refunds.
Yeah,
and if they have to be refunded,
cut off from Steam games. Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't see, that's the major problem, right? That's the thing I think that stops it dead in its tracks right there. Is will they be able to stop that from stopping Steam, or will it just be a case where they can possibly just put a stop to their games being playable, which again wouldn't make sense. What if I bought that game with my money and you're telling me I can't play my game now? It's like, so I don't understand how that would work for Sony. I don't think legally it would work.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a lot of hypotheticals. We'll know soon enough, and things are going to have to happen in order, right? The new Xbox is going to have to come out in 2027. It's going to have to be this mythical PC / hybrid Xbox underneath your TV. Obviously, during GDC, the cat kind of came out of the bag, whether that was accidentally on purpose or an accident for real. We know that they're incorporating Steam or Steam Tab into PC for Xbox PC. That what you're seeing is probably going to be what the UI is going to be on these future boxes. That UI is probably what you're going to get on these handhelds, where it's going to, again, according to Jez Cordon, unmistakably look like an Xbox, and it's probably going to act like an Xbox, and we'll know that later this year or maybe even in June during the showcase. That seems like a perfect time to show that off. Give a price, give a release date, go, and by then you should have this UI to rule them all that looks and runs like your home Xbox on your TV with this handheld. Boom, it loads up, and you can play your Steam games. You can play your Epic Game Store. And that also means not only your old games, but your new games. So if Ghost of Yotai, for instance, is the day and date PC release that we think Sony is eventually going to want to get to, and that is a really good title to start with, then that would be one of those instances where if you don't own a PlayStation, you went out and you have a PC, you have a Steam account. You're like, oh, I'm going to buy Ghost of Yotai on my PC. And then you're like, well, I like this Xbox handheld. I'm going to go buy this. And you go and you buy this Xbox handheld. Why wouldn't you be able to play the game that you purchased for Steam on this API Xbox / ROG Ally? And if it's blocked, that's ultimately going to be a problem. It does not make dollars and cents. And when it doesn't make dollars and cents, gentlemen, it doesn't make good business.